Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. My name is Cosmos Dar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America? Well, you see, America has always been about freedom, opportunity, and the pursuit of happiness. However, most Americans are not free when it comes to the financial front. Most Americans are suffering from financial slavery due to loss of jobs, stagnant wages, inflation, and debt. Wealth and income inequality is the norm now, and the middle class has all but disappeared. So Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99%. It is about the nation of immigrants and the descendant of immigrants restoring the extraordinary within themselves and setting themselves free. The path to financial freedom is through financial education. It is through becoming entrepreneurs and investors on the light side. In this podcast, I interview fellow Americans who fought against the odds. Many of them came from humble beginnings to see how they did it. It is my hope through these interviews that the extraordinary within you shall awaken and that you will abolish financial slavery from your life and realize the American dream. Once again, welcome to Extraordinary America. Welcome back to the show, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. For today's guest, we have Bobby Dunaway. Bobby Dunaway is the young and brilliant entrepreneurial publisher and CEO of Indigo River Publishing. After starting in the production department, he climbed through the ranks, eventually stepping into the role of publisher and CEO. Under his direction, Indigo evolved from a hybrid publisher to a modern cooperative publisher in which authors are seen as partners in the editing, production, marketing, and sales of their books. Bobby was also responsible for overseeing the partnership with Simone and Schuster for distribution and sales. Indigo River Publishing has grown year after year and continues to publish books across all genres and for all age groups, including A Little Me by TLC star Amy Roloff, Who's in Your Room by BNI founder Ivan Misner, and the new release, The Winning Playbook by former NFL player Jonathan Scott. Indigo River Publishing has worked with authors that have been featured nationally, including on the Boston Globe, Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur Magazine, Good Morning America, NBC News, Yahoo, and Fox News Channel. Bobby is deeply committed to expanding leadership, empowering individuals, and sharing their stories and wisdom and growing Indigo River Publishing. He is truly an extraordinary American, and that is why I have him on this show. Bobby, are you there?
I'm here, Cosmos. How are you?
I'm doing good. It is an honor to have you as a guest for the show, Bobby. Thank you for being for willing to be interviewed.
Yeah, of course. I know we've been talking back and forth for a little bit. I'm glad we're able to get on and talk. Looking
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. So, Bobby, I know that you're a publisher, you're a CEO, and you're an entrepreneur. Can you tell us and the audience a little bit more about your background and how you got started?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I went to high school, went to college, the 4-year degree in business marketing, just like everyone tells you you're supposed to do. But then I graduated and I didn't have any life experience in business. I wasn't really sure, should I move back to my hometown and just try to find a job there? Should I move somewhere elaborate for a year or two just to do it and say I did it and then figure out life after that? So I ended up moving to a smallish town, Pensacola, Florida. Um, I had a few friends here. I decided, you know what? I'm gonna move to the beach for a year. If it doesn't work out, I'll move back home. I'm from Nashville.
I love it.
Figure it out there. I was 22 at the time, and I figured I would just try it out. And as soon as I moved here, within probably a week, I saw an ad. It was a marketing assistant ad, I believe, for a publisher, but it really didn't say much about it. I never knew I wanted to work in publishing, but my degree's in marketing, so I figured, what the heck, I can try it. So I came in, I applied, came in. I see a gentleman leave as I'm walking in. I'm like, okay, maybe he interviewed for it too. And I sat down with one of the founders and we talked for a minute and he's like, honestly, the job that you came in here for, we actually just gave it away to the guy that just left. So I kind of sat there for a second. I'm like, okay, well, thank you for seeing me. But he wouldn't let me leave. We connected really well and we ended up talking and I ended up starting working as his assistant. He was an entrepreneur, so he owned several businesses in the area. So Indigo, of course, was one of those. So I helped with Indigo and a few other companies, but I kept coming back to Indigo. It was just an interesting business, and the type people you get to meet are just some of the most extraordinary people you'll find. So I kept coming back to it, started to work more full time in the production department, and I started taking on more manager roles and, under, um, the founder, he was also my mentor. I learned a lot about business under him, and, over the years, I took on more and more responsibilities, and eventually the conversation came up where, he has, hands in a lot of different things, and, one of them being Indigo. He wanted me to, take a small piece. I've, earned my dues after a few years, so, of course, I accepted that and kept growing with the company, and eventually the deal was that he would turn over the keys, so to speak, to the company because it's something about legacy for him of he wants it to be in the hands of someone that he knows and trusts, and, so that's how I became, co-partner, with my other partner here, Georgette. We both took over, and since then, we've seen amazing growth and partnered with Simon& and Schuster and, a lot of other things, so starting from a assistant role, intern, 7.5 years later, CEO of a successful book publishing company. It's kind of an interesting journey, and, I think back to it, if I decided, "You know what? I'm just gonna go back home after school and not move down here," if I didn't take that chance, who knows where I'd be right now. So, interesting background, but, yeah, I'm glad I made the moves I did and followed my instincts and got me to where I'm at.
Bobby, what is really interesting about this story of yours is that you were only 22 when you started on this path, and like you're still in your 20s, and you're like a really successful business person at this point. And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people, like in their 20s, they just waste away their 20s or
Mm,
their late teens, or when they could be learning about business and education and trying to start a business or just gathering knowledge about it. Like they seem like they're finding themselves. So what is your advice for people that would want to start like a business in their 20s, but they don't know how to go about it?
I would say the first thing is just research, the biggest thing, all of one of my mentors told me is, the one percenters of all the fields out there, they're putting out podcasts, they're putting out books, they're putting out seminars about what they're doing, how they're doing it. Find the niche, find the field that you're interested in and just start there. It's not going to hurt to spend $20 on a book or an audiobook or, following those people, I think is probably your biggest at least starting point to see what they're doing because you may start reading it and find out it's nothing you want to do and you saved a bunch of time versus if you look at something, go to a seminar and you just fall in love and you kind of take it from there. But I think the biggest thing is just do some research, see what the top of each field, what they're doing, within the field that you want to be in and just kind of start your journey there.
So,
Um,
Bobby, I totally agree with you. But you see, like a lot of people in their early 20s, they are too busy watching Netflix. Like I was like discussing this with with like a fellow entrepreneur on my show like the other week, right? Like they're
mhm,
just wasting their time watching shows. Like all you're talking about is research, doing education, like focusing on education. Like that's what we have to do in order to
yeah.
succeed in business and in finances altogether, right? Like the early 20s is the time to do it, but it feels like most people like they waste their 20s like binge watching shows or doing activities that feel good, but ultimately they do not contribute to their self improvement
Yeah.
altogether, you know?
I think the big thing with that too is, when you're 20s, just I'm 29, I'll be 30 in a few weeks actually. But I think most 20-year-olds, including, a lot of my friends that I had, they have so much time in their minds. Like, 20s, you're supposed to live life and kind of like what I said earlier, when I moved to Pensacola, that was in my mind of, I'm just gonna move there for a year. If it doesn't work out, I'll move back and figure it out later. Thankfully, I came into contact with successful people that kinda took me in and mentored me and showed me like, "No, take advantage of your youth and your time now so you can, live the life you wanna live later." So,
It's
Um,
it's interesting, Bobby. Like one of the common themes that we always get, like regarding success, is like you are like the five people you hang out with the most. So like I'm noticing like that pattern is that you hung out with successful people at an early age, and then that contributed to your thoughts and actions, which led you to where you are today. But
yeah.
more to that, what like a lot of like people in their early 20s, like they need a vision or a goal when it comes to like strategizing success. Like, what was your goal and vision, your strategic goal and vision when it came to your career altogether over the period of 6, 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, I started off a little backstory on, where I grew up. I grew up in a pretty big family. My grandpa was an entrepreneur. He owned his company. My dad owned his own company. A few of my aunts and uncles, they owned their. So I think entrepreneurship was, I understood it. Like I knew that I didn't necessarily want to be in a 9 to 5, work for someone else for my entire life. I wanted to have some control, but I didn't really know what that meant at the time. So I think when I moved here, I started talking to these other entrepreneurs and business people. It just clicked for me. I think it's being an entrepreneur is definitely uh, it's a different lifestyle. You have to find your mentors, you have to read, you have to absorb information, you have to go against the grain a lot of times. So, um, yeah, I think for me, I had the entrepreneur seed in my mind, so that kind of helped me grasp it. But, if you're from a family that works in, those specialized fields or the 9 to 5s and you just don't know what entrepreneurship is, but, I think even then, just get out there, like I said before, see what the other people are doing. You have passions, kind of explore those, see if, those passions can help, um, you know, pave the way for a possible career for you.
Speaking of passions, a lot of people like need a driving, motivating factor, like which will push them to continue doing business even when there's like highs and lows. And you and I
Yeah.
both know that there's always highs and lows in business. So, what was the driving and motivating factor that pushed you to succeed in business, even if like things would go hard?
Yes, I mean, I would assume there's a few things, of course, having financial stability, that's a small piece, and, you know, making sure I'm comfortable and living a life that I wanna live and growing to where I wanna be, but I'd say the biggest thing is, my family. I wanna make sure that I'm positioning myself to, if something happens or if just eventually, like, my parents or anything like that, if they need help or if, you know, um, I just want to be able to take care of those around me. I think that's my biggest why, so to speak, of, um, you know, I'm young now and I can put in the efforts. And if I can help those around me, that's great. And hopefully, long term, I can help people that I don't know, outside of my inner circles and kind of nationwide and beyond. So I think that's a big piece because you're right, it does get hard sometimes. You may have a stressful situation or different things that, you know, um, just everybody goes through. But if you kind of focus on that why, at least for me, I think that that helps motivate me, going forward and keep going. And then I see the positive results of it of pushing through the resistance, and then you get rewarded at the end, so
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a common theme I noticed with all entrepreneurs. Like, there's always going to be resistance. It's just that, like, the people with an entrepreneurial bug, like, they have a different mindset when it comes to resistance. They see it almost like a challenge that they need to overcome. Whereas other people, they let that bog them down. But it's that why that normally pushes them. So yeah. But Bobby, what was the biggest lesson you learned in when it came to your career in the publishing industry?
the biggest lesson, probably there's 1,000 lessons I've learned, but, I think, one of the big things is just being patient. My role now, I not only have to deal with just my team and working with them, making sure I'm patient with them to, whether, let's say a system broke, we have to figure out what went wrong, or just the day-to-days of helping them get things checked off their list. Being patient with them is good, but also with, clients and, the organizations or outlets we work with. A lot of times, you'll talk with a company, but you have to go through, 5 different people before you get to the person you need to talk to, and, I'm sure a lot of industries are the same, but especially publishing, it can be, a lot of back and forth and can get irritating, but you just gotta be patient and kinda push through it, like we said before, and you'll get the results you need, but, um, like I said, there's probably 1,000 different things, but I'd say patience and, um, hard work. It's definitely good.
So, can you tell the audience a little bit more about what the publishing industry is like? Like, what are the companies?
Yeah.
Is it like a dog eat dog world in the publishing industry, or is it more of like a cooperative type of industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some cases, any industry, but publishing, there's, a lot of, could be friction, dog eat dog kinda thing, but honestly, I have not experienced too much hostility, I think it's such a niche industry, there's different sectors. You have the straight traditional publishers, those are mainly the top 5, Random House, um, Penguin, Simon& and Schuster, and the others, and then you have, self-publishers, which really just help get the book together, and then the author kinda does their own thing with it. And then Indigo itself, we're hybrid, so we're selective with who we take on. Out of 200-300 manuscript we see, we may only take 2 or 3 of them, which I can go into later, but yeah, I think the biggest thing for the industry is, I think we are cooperative and collaborative with our authors. I think that's one thing that's kinda sets us apart from other publishers that are maybe more traditional is, um, we're mid-sized, so we're able to have that really close one-on-one relationship with our authors. We don't have thousands and thousands, which I know a lot of the larger publishers, if you're not in the top 5% of their catalog, you may get, left behind a little bit once your book comes out. So I'd say that's one thing that helps us stand out is we're really collaborative. We're always open to talking with our authors and strategizing different ways to get their books out and um, we enjoy it. We love our authors, and I think that's a big thing too, is you gotta love what you do, and we really do, and I have a great team here that loves working with authors and loves really getting words on a page and putting it out to the world, so
So, Bobby, let's say there's somebody in their early 20s. They just got out of university or college, and they want to become an entrepreneur in the publishing industry, and
uh,
they want to start up, but they don't know what to do, where to go about it. They don't know anything about the industry. What advice would you give this person? How would you mentor this person regarding their next steps altogether?
yeah. I think one of the best things you can do is intern. Maybe you can get a starting level position at a publisher that you wanna work at, but even, like, offer your time for free. Just say, "I'll work 10 hours a week just to see what you do. I'll help as much as I can and just absorb," hopefully leading to a job in the future. We've done that several times here just since I've been here, offering internships because that's how I got started in it. I kinda worked in several different companies, and I kept coming back to, you know, Indigo and publishing. It was just so interesting to me, and, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just try to get in the door, whether it's, starting level position, maybe it's not exactly what you wanna do, but you can learn while you're there and move your way up that way, or just intern. Try to sit at the table, so to speak, with the head honchos of the company as best you can, and talk to those above you and get their experience and kinda learn what they do every day, and you may go in and find that maybe it's not for you, and or maybe you find that, publishing I like, but editing is really interesting, and then you kind of pivot a little bit to that, so, yeah, I'd say just offer your time, even if it's a few hours a week, if there's no positions open, and just get your foot in the door and just start absorbing.
So this is one of the things I agree with the part about mentorship and like being like an
Yeah,
apprentice or being an intern because like one of the teams is obviously you have to be with successful people and having a mentor that can show you early on. Like I don't think it's appreciated how important it is to have the right mentors in our lives who can actually show us the ropes
yeah,
in the field that we're interested in. So yeah, I do agree with you. Like we have to not only like have people that are in our environment that are successful in the field, but also somebody we can have as a mentor. So I think being an intern, like you're basically gaining that. So
yeah,
that's there. So
mhm.
Bobby, what was the biggest challenge you had during your time in the publishing business, and how did you overcome it?
Well, recently at least, before I think it was 2020, beginning of 2020, we signed the deal with Simon and Schuster. Essentially, they became our distributor, so our books could be pushed through, their system. So their book buyers were, even further pushing our books to, or their salespeople pushing the books to book buyers. I would say it's kinda twofold. One was, 2020, everybody's been through it, kind of affected everybody a little bit differently, but we didn't know what was gonna happen. We had to close our offices and work remote for a few months, like a lot of companies did. But I think the biggest takeaway from that is learning how to pivot because as an entrepreneur, you have to learn like, the world's gonna change no matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in. I'd say the biggest lesson I took from that is, we could, stop operations, close for a few months, lay off everyone, and then just kinda wait it out and see. But instead, we took the other approaches, we're working from home, but let's take this time when things are calmer outside to, let's look at our structure. What can we restructure? Are there different aspects of publishing that we wanna get into, but we just haven't had time to. And it really was a blessing in disguise because we just signed with Simon, which is a whole different type of way to publish a books. We, put our nose down and just learned everything there was about how to work with them, how we can talk to new authors about this new opportunity for them. And it was a challenge, but it turned into a very big opportunity for us. So it was a good
Bob,
pivot.
Bobby, that is awesome because like it's almost like the choice, the fork in the road. What you mentioned,
Yeah,
right? It's like what the 99% usually do, and then what the 1% usually do. Like that's the difference. Most people they would let the environment get the better of them. Like 2020 was a huge calamitous year. Everybody was depressed. Like everything was closed. All you had to do was throw in the towel and just give up hope. But in your case, what you did was you decided to just have a change in mindset. Like you thought differently, and that's what led you to keep pushing forward.
yeah, yep, absolutely.
So I mean, I would tell my audience that it's all about mindset. Like your environment might be really hard, but if you have the right mindset and you see things in a certain way, you can ultimately push forward, and that's what we need to do as entrepreneurs altogether.
Mhm.
But on a different note, Bobby, America is the land of the free and the place where dreams are made, or at least that's what people say. Do you agree or disagree with that? And why?
I I think it goes back to what you said, it's what you make of it. You could, take advantage of the opportunities here and the freedoms that you have, but then still miss out because you have a 9 to 5 job and you put all your energy on that. So by the time you get home, you binge on Netflix, you play video games, you kinda just zone out because the day ground you up so badly that you needed that time at night to reset. But then you go back and before you know it, 20, 30, 40 years go by, and you kinda missed the opportunity. But I think the great thing about America is you can start from negatives, negative net worth and become a billionaire or more because the opportunities here is just how you view it, what your mindset is, what your drive is, and when things get hard, what's your why? What's gonna push you forward? And, I think a lot of people have that, they just need to tap into it. Um, but yeah, I'd say that.
No, I mean, yeah, it's basically about yeah, it's an environment, but ultimately it's up to us to push forward. There have
Yep.
been people that have come from nothing. Like in fact, Extraordinary America is about showcasing people that came from nothing in order to become like really successful. Like they've become millionaires, multimillionaires. Like I
Mhm.
know I know you've achieved a lot of success yourself, and like you came from relatively humble beginnings, right? And
Mhm.
what differentiated you and the others from most people was the way you thought and acted, right? Like you guys had a certain type of way of thinking, and that's what you guys took advantage of the opportunities, and that's what led you all to success.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bobby, like people have different ideas of the American dream, right? Like, but a lot of people feel like it's really hard to achieve the American dream in today's world. Like, what do you think is like the biggest hurdle that people have to achieving the American dream, and how would they overcome it from your perspective?
I think it's just what you absorb and the people in the room you're with because 90% of people, if you follow them, they're the survive mindset of you gotta go to work every day, you need to make sure there's enough money in the bank to cover you for retirement. But then you have the other, 10% that's they think differently, entrepreneurs and business people, you know, they're thrive. You like, what's the next move that can get me, higher than where I am in a positive way? I'd say that's probably the biggest thing is you just have to surround yourself with, the people that you want to be like and beyond. Because if you look at your top 5 lists right now, that'll kind of tell you where your mindset is. And the easiest thing to do is just start getting in those circles, being the dumbest one in the room, where you just feel like if you speak, you're gonna say something crazy because everyone's so smart and big, in the room, but that's where you need to put yourself, be a little bit uncomfortable and absorb everything, and eventually you'll be the one contributing in those rooms, so.
See, Bobby, I find that really interesting because our
Mhm.
society has become deeply narcissistic and self-centered and very egoistic. In fact, the entire celebrity culture that we have right now is all about like egoism and all together. So I understand what you're saying because you need to learn, you need to gain all the knowledge. Like that's how you truly become better and you become really good at what you do. But being the dumbest in the room, like, that's kinda like it kinda hits at a lot of people's self-worth, like, they don't wanna be the dumbest in the room, they wanna be the
Yeah,
smartest in the room, because that's what feeds into the ego, that's what will make them feel better about themselves.
yeah.
But I
An
don't know.
interesting concept, and it's uncomfortable, but that's what it's gonna take. Yeah,
I mean, it takes a lot of humility, right? To, like,
a
accept that,
lot.
"Hey, I don't know what I don't know. I need to learn from people that are better at me in this field that I wanna learn." But, yeah, it's easier said than done, though. A lot of people, like, they won't be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, Bobby, there's been a lot of inflation in this current year, and then a lot of people are struggling with debt. Like, as an entrepreneur, what is your perspective on inflation and debt that's happening in the country and in people's lives altogether?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to look at, you have the good debts and the bad debts, which, I think schooling, you don't really learn that. You gotta real life experience, be around those that have done it. You have your assets in your life, like, um, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book explains it very well. You have your assets and then you have your liabilities. Your liability is, I'm gonna buy a house and live in it for 30 years. You think it's an asset, but it's really a liability because there's no guarantee your price is gonna go up and get your money back on it. But an asset, you buy a house and rent it out so it makes money for you instead of taking money away from you. So I mean, inflation, it is what it is, kind of one of those external factors, but people are thriving right now. People are making millions because they pivoted, and that's the biggest thing is you have to be able to move and adjust what you're doing to the times out there. But, successful entrepreneurs, they know how to thrive in no matter what situation. So,
So, like, right now, a lot of people, they're going to colleges and they're racking up like these huge amounts of student debt
yeah.
but like with degrees that are not actually helping them become financially free. Like, what would be your advice to people that are like looking to go into like a 4-year college, this thing to get a degree that will ultimately not help them like succeed financially? Because they're racking up like some people get $100,000 in debt.
Or
Like,
more. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna tell anyone not to go to college. I went to college. I think it was, if anything, it bought me time to kinda grow up and mature from when I was 18 and started to 21, 22. But I think during that time, you could be very like, study, do your work, but also take that time and, like I said before, mentor under like, you have passions, you kinda know what you wanna do, even if, like me, it's like, I know I wanna, you know, own my own company at one point, I just don't know. Just try it out. You're young, you have plenty of time on your hands, but waste it and don't, get through school and then go to a job because you have to pay the bills and then, you're not excited about it. And then you get sucked into the grind of 9 to 5 every day and don't have energy to explore your passions and how to get into the career that you really want to. So I think just start early, as early as you can, and just see what's out there, intern, study, be around, those that you think are, successful or beyond that. And just try to absorb and make moves. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable to, try to intern somewhere, try to reach out to, a successful person and just try to take them to lunch. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of successful entrepreneurs, if a young, person came in the office and offered to buy him lunch just to talk to him, I think 90% would probably do it or at least schedule for another time
I think
because nobody does that anymore. They send in a resume digital, and then they just email back and forth. Nobody comes in person anymore. And in fact, I had 2 people that did that. They came in the office, wanted to shake my hand, tell me about what they're doing, and those people are still with me today, above all the other people that just sent in a resume, you know?
So what was the difference in that they asked you to like lunch and like shake your hand versus like sending a resume? If you could tell the audience, like what is the difference, like from your perspective, between the two approaches?
I think for me, I know that it was uncomfortable for them to come in person. You don't know who you're gonna meet or, who you're gonna ask to go to lunch or, just sit and talk with, but the biggest thing, like we've been talking about, being an entrepreneur, it can be uncomfortable at times, but your why pushes you through it. So the fact that they can come in person, which nobody does, and, knowing they're uncomfortable, but they did it anyway because they're passionate and they want to learn and grow, I mean, that says it all. I don't even need to see your resume at that point, you know?
Yeah, interesting. Like,
Yeah.
and there's like arguments in both sides, like regarding like whether one should go to college, like from an entrepreneurial perspective. Like some believe that it's an important place to like find yourself, know who you are, and basically grow as a person. Like that's when you find out more about your identity. But then there's like the other side of like people who are really successful entrepreneurs who are like, man, I like college is a waste of time. Like it's just like useless degrees.
Mhm.
Instead, learn, be like an apprentice or an intern and learn the craft and master it. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is you're trying to make money. You're trying to be financially free. You're going to college to ultimately get a job to make money. And yeah, and so unless you're trying to do a STEM field with like science, technology, mathematics, and all of that, like
Yeah.
like to a lot of entrepreneurs, they would find it pointless. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that I noticed during like discussions and all of that.
Yeah. You have the back and forth and, if you wanna go to college as a safety net, so to speak, okay, but you can still use that time to look at the other side, find mentors, intern, figure out what you wanna do because it's easy to I was in school, it was hard, and
I
it
mean,
took a lot of time, but
that's why I'm bringing it up because like not only did you do college, but at a relatively young age, you found mentors and you found the
yeah.
right circles and you became
Mhm.
successful in your 20s. It's believe it or not, Bobby, it's really hard to for most people to succeed in their 20s, like let alone the 30s, like to achieve a level of success in the 20s, like you have to be in the right fields and all of that. And then you did college and like you finished like 4 years and then you found the right circle. So you had like the full breadth of experience.
Oh,
So
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, like that's like the ultimate thing, right? Like you found you had a like not most people do one or the other, right? Like from an entrepreneurial business perspective, but like you
Yeah.
had the thing of like seeing it from both sides. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Definitely. Mhm.
Yeah. So, Bobby, can you tell myself and the audience a little bit more about Indigo River Publishing and like the and premise of how it got started and just like the
Yeah.
overall journey and books that you publish in general?
Yeah. Indigo was started, about 10 years ago. We just hit our 10-year anniversary this year. We publish all genres, cookbooks, children's, nonfiction, fiction, in the nonfiction lane, business self-help. I'd say 70% of the authors we end up publishing are in that nonfiction self-help business lane, just because that's, we're entrepreneurs, we get it. So we connect really well with those type authors. But we do publish all, and we love our children's books, and our motto here is, take on
I love
books that are words worth reading. What's going to have a lasting impact on that? Even a cookbook, it's going to make an impact on somebody if you do it the right way, and you promote certain things that, you know, are not just a fad or going to, there's a quick fad right now, but, maybe in a year or two, nobody even knows what it is anymore. So we try to put out books that are, they're going to have a lasting impact. And I think that's done really well for us and our authors, so
Yeah, I'm sure that myself and my audience would all be more biased towards like the business self-help books
oh,
because like
yeah.
we're always looking to self-improve altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some of the top authors, I mean, just some of the most gracious but successful, people, so yeah, our catalog is pretty big with the nonfiction side of things and growing, every month, so, you should definitely check out our catalog on our website. We have a lot of good books for the young and old entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like if anybody wants to write a book or they want to be an author to definitely reach out to you because
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we accept all submissions. We may not find the right terms, to publish, or maybe the manuscript isn't something that really fits within our catalog, but we do accept submissions worldwide. So we're always happy to look over the submissions that come in, and, feel free to send whatever you have our way, we'll take a look at it. Yeah. And you'd be
that's
surprised, we publish authors that have published 25 books and we're doing their 26th, but we do publish a lot of authors, it's their first book. Maybe they're a business person, maybe they're, in a niche field like a doctor or engineer, and they just wanna put this book out to help either grow their business or to try to make an impact on those, and it's their first book and they don't know how to get started, and we've helped many authors in that boat too, so don't be afraid to, take a chance and submit it.
that
Yeah.
is awesome, Bobby. So, Bobby, is there any other work or project that you're currently working on that you'd like to the audience to get a glimpse of?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now my main focus has been, since I took over, about 2 years ago, really systemizing and growing Indigo, and, part of my role here is just connecting with others that, maybe I could find a JV with some distributor or some other entity that could help grow not only Indigo, but can help them as well. So, yeah, right now, anybody that maybe you're in publishing, maybe you're in, some other field that you think could be a good connection for us to collaborate, that's why I'm here. So feel free to reach out if you have those thoughts too. No,
Awesome.
no, no idea is too crazy in my book.
That
So hey,
I'll definitely keep that in mind. So,
yeah.
so how can our audience get to like connect with you and get to know more of what you're doing and your website and all of that?
Yeah, well, our website is indigoriverpublishing.com. You can email me directly, bobby@indigoriverpublishing.com. And if you have a manuscript, you can submit directly through the website. Just make a note that, you heard, from this podcast that I told you to submit. So I'll have a note and I'll talk with my team about it so we can push it to the top of the pile. But I'm on LinkedIn, all the socials. So the best way to get a hold of me is probably my email or on LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to connecting with anyone that wants to, keep the conversation going.
Awesome, Bobby. Bobby, it's
Yeah.
really an honor to have you on the show. Like you're actually like an extraordinary American that in his 20s like succeeded against all odds. You had a certain way of thinking and acting, and I hope that my audience got some value and like some insights into how to become successful as well. You know?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah. And I want to conclude this episode by telling my fellow extraordinary Americans that, hey, that there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It is our duty to empower and unleash them. Until next time, bye for now. Hey there, everyone. Thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets you free. Also, remember that your purchasing power is being diluted through inflation, and then the practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power by investing in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Also, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.